Hi guys. Hi everybody. Please let me know if you can hear and see me right now. And we're going to start our online stream. So, okay. Well, I see there are already some people there. So great. Please let me know if the sound and the video are working well. And we're going to start. Okay. I'm waiting for your comments. Okay, hi. Okay, great. So I see that it's working right now. Awesome. In this case, I'm happy to welcome you to this online stream. As you probably know, my name is Anastasia, and today we'll be sharing with you the 30 words that will help you to boost your score in the writing section, both in IELTS and on TOEFL. And by the way, in this case, if you have any questions regarding, like the writing section or anything at all, just studying English, etc., please make sure that you do not hesitate to ask them in the chat. Okay? So let me see. Okay, everything is working. Great. So guys, if you do have some questions, you can actually ask them right now before we start. And then in this case, what I think we're going to do is we're going to dedicate about, well, maybe 30 minutes to theoretical part, and then I'm going to answer all of your questions. Hi. Hi. Great. Okay. So everything is working. Awesome. So, well, any questions you do have right from the beginning, or should we proceed to the 30 words for improving your writing skills on IELTS or TOEFL? Okay, let me see. All right, looks like we don't have a lot of questions here. Okay, then in this case, let me start. And I'm just gonna think that I will share my screen with you guys to show you the words that I prepared for today, so that this way you will be able to see them as well. Okay, well, the live starts. Hi, it's actually working already. Yeah, so we already started that. And please let me know, guys, by the way, which exam you're going to be taking and what is the score you would like to get. And maybe you're just studying English, just to improve it. So what is your goal in studying English? Who of you are preparing for each test and which test you're interested in and what score you'd like to get? Okay. Okay, great. So IELTS, and what is the score that you'd like to get? So IELTS, 8777, IELTS 8 band score. That's a great score. What else? Just improving. Okay, Valerie needs just improving English. What else? Many ones. Okay, beginner. Wow, that is great. Well, for beginner, I believe that it might be a little bit tricky to listen to whatever I'm about to say today, but anyway, you can try to. 7.5. Okay, so a lot of vowels here today. Oh, TOEFL, 78. I hope that's 78, not 78, like on IELTS. IELTS maybe. Well, great. TOEFL 117 or 120. Now this one is extremely good score. Okay. So in this case, as I see, we do have a lot of examinations here, just improving. Well, in this case, let us start. And just for those who actually are watching us right now, we're about to talk about 30 words for improving your writing skills on IELTS and TOEFL. So I'm sharing my screen, and I think I'm gonna, I'm gonna actually take some breaks between the words so that we don't have only words throughout the whole lesson. And then I'm gonna be answering some of your questions. If you do have any questions or something is unclear to you while you're listening, please make sure that you post them here in chat, and we're gonna take a look at that. Okay, well, let me just figure out. I'm going to share my screen, and I'm just going to show you the words. Okay. So share screen. Mm-hmm. Great. Okay. Please let me know if you can see it. These are top 30 words for improving your writing skills on IELTS and TOEFL. Let me know if you can see that. Types of questions and IELTS. Okay, great. So then in this case, let us start and let's delve deeper and check out the first words. So the first word that is extremely cool for writing, both for TOEFL, IELTS, as well as for those who are just improving their English level, is to advocate. To advocate means to recommend or support something. In this case, we can say that some people advocate the introduction of developed railway networks to diminish traffic congestion. So it means that they kind of support the introduction of developed railway networks. Now you can remember this word because it's quite close, to being like a lawyer. It's like to advocate, and then this is why I have this picture here. Now you can say that you advocate whatever position you support, you can use the word to advocate. Now the second one is to diminish. This is a really awesome word because you can use it whenever you are talking about some decline or decrease. And this is the picture that illustrates how this word may be used. That's to diminish. Now, what I'm having here is to diminish traffic congestion. And it means to decrease, yes, or to decline. And you can use all of these words, and especially for those who are going to be taking the IELTS or TOEFL test, please make sure, guys, that you write it down. And what I call it is like kind of synonym lines, and you have a line with synonyms, which is extremely useful whenever you are, tackling your essay. Because when you want to say something, sometimes you need to repeat one word all over again. Now, this is a great way of not doing that, because this way you can avoid repetition and you can use some words which you already know, so you don't lose and waste time, just thinking what synonym can I put. And the last one which I have in the sentence is traffic congestion. Now, traffic congestion, it's already pretty clear what that is. It just implies that there are too many cars on the roads. So what we have is that some people advocate the introduction of developed railway networks to diminish traffic congestion. And you see how much more advanced it sounds right away. Well, we're moving on to word number 4, which is merits. Well, merits or a merit means advantages or an advantage. For example, this is a great way of paraphrasing when you have to write a pros and cons essay. This is something that I do recommend a lot, and it's really awesome if you use it. That's like merits, and the second word is drawbacks. So what we can see is that the merits of being raised in the city significantly outweigh its drawbacks. Now, as you probably have already guessed, drawbacks are disadvantages. So every time you have pros and cons essay, on IELTS especially, we have a special type of a question, which is like, do advantages outweigh disadvantages? Now, that's an awesome way to use it. And by the way, in the online intensive course that I've just recently launched, I'm introducing the templates that you might use whenever tackling each type of essay, and make sure that when you are preparing, you also come up with special templates that you will be using. And for example, my template for advantages, disadvantages essay already contains 2 of these words, so you are using them and you are showing to an examiner that you can use synonyms rather effectively. And the drawbacks, an example for this would be the sole drawback of homeschooling is lack of peer-to-peer interaction. By the way, speaking about peer-to-peer interaction, how are you studying and how are you preparing for your exams? Let me just stop sharing screen for now, because I'm really interested to get to know some of your ideas. Okay. I'm just gonna stop sharing my screen and I'm gonna read your comments, and we're gonna discuss how you are preparing for the tests as well as how you are improving your English. Okay, so types of questions in IELTS and structure. Yeah, that might be a challenge, especially when you're tackling this test for the first time. You're like, oh, how should I, tackle this type of question or this type of question? And I do agree, it's a little bit problematic sometimes, but it all depends on the strategies that you use, as well as on the time you spend, and dedicate to your IELTS prep. Okay, everything is okay. Yes, 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 we can see that. That is great. Why is it better to use this 30 words? Okay, look, let me explain that to you. Basically, why we need to use more advanced vocabulary is, as you probably know, to get a high score, you need to demonstrate language proficiency. And in your writing, one way to do it is to use advanced vocabulary. Now, because in this case, you can use advanced grammar structures. For example, like you can use some, like inversion or clef sentence 1, clef sentence 2 in your essays, as well as just some complex sentences. And in this case, you are showing to an examiner that you are able, like you're really, good at English. It's not that you're just using some simple sentences, which a person with intermediate, upper intermediate level can do. But if you really want to get a band score of 7 or 7.5, especially in writing, because I would say that it's quite easy to get, a high score, for example, in reading listening in both exams like TOEFL or IELTS. But let's say that you want to get a high score in writing. Now, it's especially pivotal for IELTS, because on IELTS, you can get a band score of 6 or 5.5 quite easily for your writing. But if you want to get a 7, there is a huge gap between getting a 6.5 for your essay and getting a 7. And this is what actually helps you to, achieve this band score, maybe like achieve a higher band score. So this is basically why you are using these words. Study with my tutor, just like, would you elaborate on that? I suppose it's much better to cool out before the exam. Well, certainly you do have to do that as well, because if you're stressed out or if you're freaking out on the test day, it's not gonna actually, make you get the highest score possible. But anyway, it's also about your preparation, and it's also about, the efforts that you put in while, preparing your essays. From Ukraine, the name of my exam is as an, it's usually a standard exam, which all the students hope that this video will be helpful. Yeah, surely you can use this vocabulary anywhere. If you were studying at the university, for example, like when I studied at the university, I had a lot of these words in my student books and course books, as well as I use it in my writing assignments. So this is pretty typical. It's an informal letter, it may be semi-formal. For letters, it's not really good. It's better for the essays, I'd say. So, well, as Maria is proposing us, let's continue to the rest of the words. Exactly, I'm gonna make your share screen one more time, and we are proceeding. So, word number 6 in this case is cogent reasons. So, cogent reasons means they're clear, convincing, and logical. So, instead of saying clear reasons or convincing reasons, you might opt for saying that many people put forward, and this is one more good expression you might use. It's to put forward an idea or to put forward some reasons. So many people put forward cogent reasons for banishing traffic from the city center. As an example, like this is also a good way of saying that. Now, word number 7 is to reiterate. Reiterate means to repeat or to restate. For example, what I can say is that technicians reiterate the necessity of incorporated user guides in the software. And in this case, it means like they repeat this necessity. They're saying like, come on, guys, we have to do that. Or people reiterate the necessity of putting all signs in Braille. This is one more example, like reiterate, restate, or repeat this idea several times. And how can you remember these words? It's actually by repeating them in your essays. I really suggest you to use them a lot whenever you're writing an essay. And every time you write an essay, try to include at least 10 new words and try to have somebody correcting how you use them, because this is the way how you are improving this. You know, if you are using the words here and there and all the time you're trying to include them in whatever writings that you are producing, you're going to see how much better your results will be. Now, word number 8 is to incorporate. To incorporate is a synonym for to include. For instance, the film incorporates elements of fantasy and science fiction. Well, what you can say is the film includes elements, but saying incorporates just sounds much better. Word number 9 is to prevail. So to prevail, it's to overcome, become, like prove more powerful or superior. Basically, what you can say that during negotiations, logic has to prevail over emotion. Or just like, anyway, logic has to prevail over emotion in most of the cases. It means that logic, has to prove to be, superior to emotion. Well, word number 10 in this case is regulations. So what are regulations? These are rules specifically made and maintained by authorities. Actually, in American English, you can use both regulations and rules in the same sentence. And, it's not going to be considered a repetition. For instance, you can just say that following traffic regulations is pivotal. Now, pay attention to the word pivotal. It's another word which you might use. It means important. Or you can say when traveling to a foreign country, obey all rules. In this case, rules refer to culture, and regulations, they refer to law. So like kind of the rules, that are specifically made by authorities, by the government. So you can also introduce it in whatever types of essays that you're going to be using, writing like both for IELTS and for TOEFL. Okay, word number 11, as we just discussed it, is pivotal. So as I said, pivotal means important. And if some of you were watching my videos on Instagram, LinguaTrip, then you probably noticed that I talked about this construction, like preserving wildlife is pivotal. I specifically included the same sentence so that you would remember both of these 3 words. It's preserve, wildlife, and pivotal. So if you remember, this thing is, in this case, that we're trying to start with the word with ing ending and then use is and an adjective instead of saying it is pivotal, it is necessary, it is important. This creates what I said. This is the second component of any good essay. It's complex grammar structure. Well, word number 12 is detrimental. So detrimental, it means causing harm and damage, which is something extremely dangerous. You can also say hazardous. By the way, hazardous is a good synonym for dangerous. Now, this is a really strong connotation. What I mean by this is that, in this case, it means that it's pretty much important, when you are using it to remember that it means like extremely dangerous. So for example, if I'm saying like deforestation results in detrimental consequences, the deforestation results in detrimental consequences for the planet. Okay, so this is basically the point, how you can do it. For example, the next word here is going to be severe. And this is something very similar because severe means very great or intense. For example, there is a severe shortage in water in this region. So a severe shortage means that you are having, like a lot of problems with water. This is severe shortage in this region. Okay. Well, so in this case, let me take a look at some of your questions for now. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen and we're going to check it out. All right, guys. Any questions you have for now, please make sure you ask them. And let me just open our chat. Okay. So, may I use this 30 words in exams in New Zealand at university? Thank you so much for it. Yes, certainly you can. You can use them wherever you want. And in this case, as I said, using them in your university examinations or especially in your university assignments is just going to be awesome. This is like extremely great. So I take English lessons in EF. I'll plan to prepare for those exams in the summer. Well, that's great. Make sure that in this case, you always dedicate enough time for your preparation and you always plan it very thoroughly. Because sometimes it happens that you don't have enough time for it, and then it just, well, it's not that really practical and it's not that useful. Is there a list of necessary advanced vocabulary? Well, there is. Well, I would say there are a lot of lists, but you always have to be careful about whether they can be used or not. So it's extremely important that you pay attention to this because sometimes, people may be offering you some words which may not be, for example, synonyms of the words they're given together with, or they cannot just be used in some contexts. So it's pretty much important that you always check that out. And by the way, actually, as I said, we have I have right now, this online intensive course, and tomorrow we're gonna have first lectures, gonna be a closed stream. And during this stream, I'm gonna continue with this list. Because it's actually I created this list based on my experience and experience of my students and all the essays that we wrote and came through. So it's a huge list that I have, but today, unfortunately, I will only be able to share with you 30 words from this list. So the rest I'm going to be sharing tomorrow when we have this webinar where we actually have only the participants of the intensive course. And usually I'm answering all the questions more specifically because they're only people who are taking this specific exam. And I think I'm gonna just continue giving you the list of the words. Okay. Is a year enough to get prepared for TOEFL? Well, definitely. I would say it's even more than enough. This depends on what your level is, but to be honest, you don't need to spend more time than that. I would say usually 2 or 3 months is enough. It depends on your level, obviously, but if you already have something like upper intermediate or advanced, it's it can take even less than that. But make sure you don't spend a year to prepare for TOEFL. It's not worth it. Is it necessary to use all of them, or it depends? Obviously, it depends on the situation of the essay that you're writing. What I try to do while selecting these words is I try to select the ones which are more or less universal. I mean, you can use them in a variety of contexts. You don't necessarily need to use them only for one type of an essay. So, of course, you don't need to use all of them. You can just select the words which are appropriate for your context. But anyway, that's just going to be cool if you try to use at least some of them. For instance, changing important to pivotal all the time is not such a big deal. And examiners will be like, oh, you use the word pivotal. It's really awesome. It's academic context. It's considered a super advanced word. Now, it's really going to, elevate you in the eyes of any examiner. Or for IELTS. I'm not sure that I really get your question. Do I understand this right? All these words are word synonyms, but in more formal style. Well, it's kind of, it's I'm providing you with synonyms for simpler versions of words. Yeah. So what the level of English I need to pass TOEFL IELTS, this depends on the type of the score, on the score you want to get, basically. For instance, if you want to, let's say, get something higher than 100, then definitely you need to have advanced level. Although, it also depends on how you are preparing, because sometimes I had people who would get 100 even though they don't have a really advanced, level. They were just preparing a lot, and it's all about, what strategies you use in your preparation, because sometimes you can get even a higher score without having the necessary level for that. Okay, I have to, okay, thank you. I have 2 years before the exams. I'm going to improve my level that I have been what I have been doing now. Awesome. In this case, what you can do, for instance, if you still have 2 years, anyway, whenever you're having some resource like reading, for example, I don't know, a book or listening to podcasts. By the way, guys, I do suggest you to use BBC Learning English. Let me just send you a link for that. Oh, that's a really cool resource which you can use. And this, okay, one sec. Yeah. This is one link for it. They have awesome podcasts. One is 6-Minute English, and they also have Lingo Hack. It's more, I think it's a little bit more up to the point for those who are taking the IELTS test. But anyway, it's also good for those who are taking TOEFL, because you're going to have a variety of different accents on your test. But anyway, they do have rather cool vocabulary, especially for those who are just improving their level. What you might do, you might watch, in this case, those videos, and then you might write down some short summaries, you know, of the videos that you watched, or you can make oral summaries using the new vocabulary. This is just going to be awesome, because in this case, you are going to see how much better it's going to become and how much, you know, more advanced your writing and your speaking will sound. Okay, so it took me 2.5 months of preparation for IELTS. Well, that is great. This is something that seems more credible. Where you're from, you speak English so awesome. Well, I'm from Russia originally, but thanks. Thanks. Okay, is it that easy mission to be an English teacher? Well, that's a good question, but I think it's not for this video. But no, it's really exciting, and I do love it a lot. Okay, so guys, let us just continue with a list of words. I just want to share with you some more. And the next word that we're going to cover is going to be anxiety. Now, anxiety, I do think that most of you know this word. It's a feeling of worry whenever you are worrying or feeling that you're kind of anxious. This is the adjective derived from anxiety. So how can you use it in your writing? For instance, whenever you're talking about pros and cons of living in a huge, like, okay, let's say in a bustling city, you might say that constant noise pollution creates a feeling of anxiety in city dwellers. And this is going to be a great reason, and you are showing that you know the word, you know, noise pollution, and you kind of know this area at least, creates a feeling of anxiety. You are showing that people start feeling anxious all the time. Probably some of you notice that if you have, I don't know, your windows overlooking some street, with traffic and high traffic congestion, you're going to feel anxious and nervous all the time. And then city dwellers, these are people who live in a city. So instead of saying people who live in a city, you can go for city dwellers. Another good word we might use here is exposure to. And this is one of my favorite words, really. So exposure to something or to get exposed to something is just great. Because in this case, for instance, when you are saying something like exposure to radiation is really hazardous. I already told you about the word hazardous. Remember this, the same as dangerous. And then exposure to means you are experiencing radiation. Yes, exposure to radiation, or you can say to be exposed. This means to experience. Let's take the same city dwellers, and you might say that city dwellers are exposed to people from many walks of life. And this is just great because, you know, this way you are not saying that they can meet people from many walks of life, or they can encounter, which is also a great word, but I think we're going to cover it tomorrow on a closed webinar on IELTS. But anyway, like you're showing that you know this word are to be exposed to something, and this is just great. Now, I used an expression right now, people from many walks of life. So people from many walks of life. Any ideas on what it may be? So do you know the meaning for that? Oh, show us the words, please. Come on, guys. Yeah. One sec. I'm just going to make your share screen. Give me 1 second. Come on, yeah. So you're not seeing the words. That's a problem. Okay. So here they are. You have anxiety, which we discussed. You have exposure to, and you have to be exposed to something. As I said, city dwellers are exposed to people from many walks of life. Now I have a question for you is like, who in this case are people from many walks of life? Any ideas that you might have? Okay. Meanwhile, I'm also gonna catch up with your comments here. La 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 la. Okay. How many English words we should learn? Should. Make sure you never use to after should, because should is a modal verb. How many English words we should learn a day? That is a great question. Thank you very much. That's, I would say, if you want to, for example, succeed in taking your examinations and getting a high score, that's going to be about 15 to 20. It means like you have a really intense preparation. Regularly, on a daily basis, you can go with 5 or 10 new words. But when you're preparing for the test, like 15, 20 new words is just amazing. So that's, by the way, the same like topic that I'm covering like in my intensive course in IELTS. I actually dedicated 3 lectures. I think this is 3 lectures. Yeah, 3 lectures in the beginning to explaining how to improve your English. Because, you know, people who are preparing for IELTS, sometimes these are people with intermediate, pre-intermediate, or upper intermediate level. And I know that it's pretty much important to structure your preparation and to know where to look for the new words, how to learn them, how to remember them. So that's actually, I'm sharing some resources there. So you might just like actually sign up for the course and take a look at that. Because 15 to 20, yeah, I would say this is a really good amount if you are planning to take the test in the future. I would say somewhere in a few months. That's just gonna be great. Okay. Oh, well. I try to listen to podcasts, the webinars. Also, I watch movies in English with English subtitles, BBC and CNN channels. Try watching movies without subtitles. It's really amazing, and like that's gonna help you a lot. Also, try to listen to audiobooks. Audiobooks are really saving you whenever you are preparing for a test or when you are improving your language. You know, because I'm gonna like tell you one story. I had a student. He actually started listening to, I think he was listening to Harry Potter, as far as I remember. Yeah, so he was like a huge fan of it, and he was listening in the beginning and he could not understand almost any word. Like, it was not an adapted book, it was an original. So he actually listened to it and listened about a few hours a day while doing some other things. And then by the end of the last book, I don't remember what is there, like 7 or 8, he could understand every single word. And he was not writing down every word that he could not understand. He was just listening and trying to guess it from context. And this is amazing. Also, I had one student, he started preparing for IELTS. This is for those who asked the question how long it takes. It depends on how you dedicate, you know, your time. But he started studying and he learned English from scratch. So he started, and after a year, he already took his IELTS and he got 7.5. Yeah, this was a band score of 7.5, but he learned it for 1 year from the very beginning. So he was not preparing for IELTS from the very beginning, but he studied English and prepared for IELTS in a year. So he was also listening to a lot of audiobooks. Yeah, so the words, I'm gonna get them back whenever we get back to them. Okay. Where is the Russian accent? Where is that? I don't know, actually. I think you have to be working on that. How long is this lesson? Lasts for an hour. I must memorize these words 15, 20 forever. Oh no, you don't need to memorize them forever, actually. As I said, unfortunately, I will not be able to cover that all today because we only have 1 hour and I still need to finish with the words. But as I said, you can check out my intensive course, and 3 lessons will be dedicated only to how you can learn the words and make sure that you remember them forever. How could you speak extremely fast? Do you want me to slow down? If you want it, actually, I can. You know, you sound British. Yeah, I know that. I know. That's real to understand each word. That's real? You mean necessary to understand each word by listening audiobooks? No, you don't need to try to write down or translate every single word. What you have to do instead, you have to try to get the main idea and to enjoy listening to the book. So this way you will see that how much better it's going to be. You know, you don't need to translate everything, and you don't need to try to understand every single word, because otherwise it's not going to be, you know, a pleasure for you to listen to the book, but instead it's going to be a burden, and you will not do this, and you will not learn. Okay. She was doing her homework when father had come from the job. It's not grammatically correct. She was doing her homework when her father came and then came home, probably. To dedicate means to spend or to devote. Write that down. That's another good word. No. Okay, guys, let's come back in this case and let's cover a few more words. So, I actually asked you a question about people from many walks of life, and these are people from different cultural and social backgrounds. And this is like kind of an idiomatic expression that you might use in your writings. And this is formal, so that's good to use it, especially for TOEFL. It's just great. Another word I want to cover is to violate laws. Violating laws or to violate laws. Let me just get back, the share screen. And I'm going to show that to you. Okay, so to violate laws or to break laws, violating rules is prohibited everywhere. To violate laws, to violate rules means to break them. And you see, it's like rule violation here. To embrace, this means to adopt. So to embrace an opportunity is an extremely common expression. So embracing an opportunity of getting higher education results in higher chance of securing a good job. Now, this is a really great expression which you might use almost everywhere, because we're talking so much about embracing opportunities. It's either getting higher education or something. And this could be a sentence, you know, like a reason whenever you have an essay on the pros and cons of getting higher education. Another good word is depletion, means reduction until something is completely gone. For example, ozone layer depletion results from human activity. This is something that I'm going to cover in my next intensive course. And specifically for those who are improving their English, that's going to be for intermediate level approximately. And we're going to be discussing ozone layer depletion. So that's going to be really interesting. To be inclined to believe. This is a great way of giving your opinion in any type of essay. So to be inclined to believe, it means you're kind of more likely to believe. You can say, I'm inclined to believe that deforestation leads to severe damage of wildlife. So I'm inclined to believe, you can say the same thing instead of saying, I believe, or like, I suppose, or I think. The last way, oh yeah, by the way, I have a question for you guys there. Please let me know which word you are using in this case to give your opinion. Really interested in that. What is the word that you are using to give your opinion while you're writing an essay on TOEFL or on IELTS? Let me see your comments below. Does it work with paper book? like an audiobook. An audiobook is even better. Does advise words stick in mind easy? Advanced words. Certainly they stick, so much that you will not be able to get rid of them if you want to. You just have to learn them properly. Where can I download the list of the words? Well, I don't think we have an option, but I'm going to send it for like tomorrow on the closed, webinar for IELTS. I'm just going to send this whole list so that's going to be easier for you. Lived in UK. No. What is next TOEFL IELTS exams? Well, it depends on where you live and where you're going to register. So this is up to you. Pretty good. Okay. I think to my mind, in my opinion, I believe to my mind is conversational. So cross it out from the very beginning. In my opinion, yes. I believe yes. Think maybe it's incorrect. I think is okay. In my opinion, I reckon. No, you cannot use unreckon. Because if you are using I reckon, this is informal way of saying that. So you only can use it while you are speaking. But I mean, like for the exams, whenever you're writing an essay, make sure you never use I reckon. Even though it looks so cool. I think yes. I suppose no. In my opinion, yes. It seems to me, pay attention, but no, this is also not good for writing. In my opinion, I think in my opinion, it's clear that yeah, I guess no, I assume yes, I suppose no, as I said it. In my personal opinion, you can also say in my humble opinion, I personally believe, okay, yeah, I guess no. So I guess no, this is also conversational. From my point of view, no, this is conversational. And really, guys, why I actually decided to talk about that is this is extremely important whenever you're writing an essay, and especially if you're writing an essay on IELTS. Because on IELTS, examiners are really picky in this case, and they will give you a lower score for saying something like, I guess. Because it's inappropriate format. You have to stick to the formal way of saying that. I'm utterly convinced. Yeah, that's possible. I want to learn English by conversation. Well, that's probably not a question for me. Okay, so let's continue. In this case, let's move on. And I was talking about I'm inclined to believe. This is one more way for you to say that. Then maybe I'm also gonna get some video about, actually you can check out, I think I have a video on this topic on LinguiTrip Instagram feed. So if you check it out, you might probably find I have a video on how to give your opinion on IELTS. And I think it's also on TOEFL. So legislation, the next word is legislation. And legislation means the same as law. For example, you can say proponents of this legislation reiterate the importance of preserving wildlife. And I specifically repeated the same word. So in this case, to reiterate is to repeat. You already remember that. And legislation is like a law. Now, who are proponents? Any idea how can we say proponents? Yeah, I'm getting back. Share a screen for you. Please let me know if you know the word proponents and what does this word mean. No ideas, I see. Okay, look, guys, we have the word opponent. This is a person who opposes something. Now, proponent, this is a person who is for something, on the opposite. So we have opponents and proponents, and this is a really cool way of doing that. So you can also use the word proponent in your essays. Now, we're almost coming to an end. Another good expression, which I just really love, is the key to. So the key to is the most essential thing for something. And I just love this word. It's especially good for paraphrasing the statement in the introduction. It's awesome for those who are writing their opinion on something for university assignments, etc. So you can say that communication is key to your success in relationships, in the workplace, as a citizen of your country, and throughout your lifetime. This is key. You can use the key to, or you can say key to. Now, if you use is key to, it means it's one of the key things. It's one of the pivotal things. Now, the key to it kind of means that it's the most pivotal thing for something, the most essential. Word number 24, this to pursue. You know, to pursue a career, to pursue a goal, especially good, and you can use it in your speaking as well. So on intensive course on IELTS, I will be covering vocabulary that you might use for different, you know, types of questions, and one of this word is going to be to pursue. So no matter what career you plan to pursue, learning to express yourself professionally in speech and in writing will help you get there. That's a great way of saying that. Word number 25 is to perceive. Like to perceive information means to become aware or to realize something. So to understand is to perceive, to interpret, and to realize your perception and interpretation to what we already know. And this is one more great word to use in your writings. So you can say to perceive information or just to perceive something. And word number 26 is an asset. Now this one can mean a bonus or a benefit. And like an individual with excellent communication skills is an asset to every organization. It means like a bonus to every organization. And now actually I want to show you in this case a piece from like financial accounting. This is for those who are studying somewhere abroad, or like, well, you can also use it in your writings for IELTS or TOEFL. It's in financial accounting. An asset is any resource owned by the business. Anything tangible or intangible that can be owned or controlled to produce value, and that is held by a company to produce positive economic value is an asset. Now, if you have problems understanding that you might probably need to reinforce your vocabulary. So an asset, we already covered that. So you have an example of tangible assets here. And tangible, it's something we can touch and measure. So usually we can use this collocation like a tangible asset. Or you can say intangible. This is unable, to be touched or to be measured. So like, for example, tangible asset is an employee. Yeah, now intangible asset, this can be some, like some shares in a company. They are intangible, you cannot touch them, but they are an asset. Now, the word number 29 is a plethora of something. And this is the word that I do suggest you to use whenever you want to say a lot of. You can just change it to a plethora of or an array of. An array of is also really cool. You can also use myriads. It's not exactly the synonym, but it can do. Now this way of changing a lot is it's for writing. Now, do you have any ideas how we can change the word a lot whenever we are speaking? So I have this question for you. How can we change the word a lot when we are speaking? Any ideas? Please let me know what you think. I'm just gonna stop sharing screen now. Okay, so any ideas how we can change that? Well, meanwhile, I'm gonna catch up with your comments. Show the list of words showed. Is it enough to remind about words throughout the day in order to memorize all this? Well, no, I wouldn't say it's not enough. It's better to use them in your writing all the time. I can see the words, yeah, which new, okay. Many, a bunch of. A bunch of is great. What else? A plenty of. It's better to say plenty of. We're not saying plenty of, it's plenty of. So plenty of, a lot of, many, a bunch of. What else? For speaking. And it is, wow, what about saying hips off? You know, that's pretty conversational, but this can be used like hips off or loads of. You know, that's not very typical, but still you can say the majority of. Well, this is good for writing as well, I would say. This is not only for speaking. Just so it's like plenty of, a bunch of, heaps of, loads of, a lot of, many. These are good for speaking. Now, when you have a plethora of, myriads, an array of, this is good for writing. Make sure you do not confuse them because, I mean, using a plethora of in speaking is not that critical. You know, that's not bad. I mean, an examiner might think that you are, you know, like using too academic vocabulary, but this is okay. Now, if you are saying heaps of or a bunch of, whenever you are, let's say, writing, that's not going to really sound appropriate, and you might get a score lower. Yeah, it's like probably going to give you a few points, no less. So, okay. Now the last, is there any difference among these words? Well, there is a tiny difference, but you actually can substitute, you know, most all of them with a lot of. So they have very similar meaning. They are a little bit different, but you don't really, oh, well, you can translate them and you can see the difference. But honestly speaking, this is why we need synonyms, because mostly we are having almost the same meaning. Okay, and the last word which we're going to see is a bustling city. Now, a bustling city is, you know, a really busy and energetic city. So you might say that I live, like living in a bustling city. And this is going to be really a great way of saying that, because this way you're showing to an examiner that you also use the word bustling. And you can actually like give this word, and it's just really great. Okay, so these were 30 words that we covered for today that I highly suggest you write down and remember, and not only remember, because if you're just going to write them down and then forget about them, like that's not going to be worth it. What you need to do instead, you need to try to use them in your future essays. So those of you who are preparing for the tests, make sure that you have a list of words, not necessarily this ones, any words. And then you're trying to include 10 new words in each of your writings, especially essays and like writing 2 for IELTS and independent essay for TOEFL. Okay, that's fun. Okay, well, what I think in this case as well is make sure that you try not only to use them all the time, but also to pay attention to the structure. Because I'm going to be talking about this on the, I think that's going to be tomorrow. I think I'm going to be able to squeeze it in for tomorrow closed webinar for those who are like attending online intensive course in IELTS, is we're going to talk not only about vocabulary, because vocabulary constitutes 1/4 of your overall band score for your writing. Now, it's also important that you pay attention to grammar and you pay attention to some small hints and tricks. Because I actually had a student, and when she first submitted her essay, she was like, I'm going to probably get an 8 for it. And I think, unfortunately, I cannot send it to you here. But if there are some people who will be tomorrow on the closed webinar, I think I'm just going to send it and just show the essay is really good. I mean, it uses advanced vocabulary. It is extremely cool in terms of ideas, but she would get 6.5 for it because of several small tricks that she did, you know, like the things that she did not include in her essay. And this is why it's really much important. So if there are some people who are preparing for IELTS, like, well, for TOEFL, I have an intensive course, but it's only in Russian. So if there are some people who speak Russian and who are preparing for TOEFL, you can check it out on Linguistics page. Now, in IELTS, I have a course in English, and during this course, I'm repeating many advanced words for you specifically to remember. So I'm like repeating in every lecture so that by the end you will be like, oh, I remember this word already. So make sure that what I was heading to. Yeah, what I was telling is that you have to check out the small, you know, tips and tricks if you want to get a high score. As I said, it's extremely difficult to get a score of 7 and higher on writing on IELTS. So if you are taking your test and in the near future please make sure you check out the online intensive course I have. The link is under this video. And it's like tomorrow we have our first webinar. So I'm going to be sharing tips on writing, and I'm going to be including the rest of the words that we did not cover today, as well as I will tell you about all these tricks that you need to, to use in your writing. So can you show the slides with words again? I'm going to show it to you. Will there be similar free webinars? Well, I think that probably in the future, but I don't think that they're going to be on, well, maybe they're going to be on IELTS, but most probably they're going to be on general English credit. Thank you. You can play it back on. Yeah, I think you can just play it back on so that we don't lose time right now. Like there's everything. I specifically showed everything to you. So what time will it be next webinar? Well, guys, there will be a closed webinar tomorrow. But this is only for people who are participating in online intensive course on IELTS. So you have the link below. If you are interested, we have a 20% discount for the course until tomorrow. So if you are preparing for IELTS, you can check it out. Then, I mean, a free webinar, I think there will be one. There will be one in Russian, but this is only for Russian speakers. We will be discussing how to do writing 1, and I think it will be this Thursday. But I mean, in English, I think it's going to be a while. I speak Russian. Okay. What is the perfect book that I can read to improve my English? Well, that depends. You can try out How to American. I really love it. I think it's good for upper intermediate level, and it's also very engaging and it's fun. What about any words to memorize? We can't use them in a day-to-day basis. Share with them some secret tips or messages. Well, first of all, if you're preparing for a test, you're just introducing them in each of your essays. And you can use an application Quizlet and Memoirs. They are really cool, just to practice your vocabulary. And second of all, also it's writing. Unfortunately, it's writing and using. And still, like, for example, the word pivotal, you can still substitute important to pivotal just for some time to make sure that you remember it. And reading. Obviously, reading saves you because it's so, so useful. All right, guys. Any more questions you have before we finish? If yeah, I'm going to be happy to answer them. Any questions here? Okay. So since we don't have any more questions, how to write English fun for internet free, I think that you're just like have to, sign up on some of the networks and try it out. Well, then I'm actually like saying bye to you for a day. So I don't have an Instagram. Unfortunately, I don't have an Instagram. If you are interested, then you can check out LinguaTrip, a LinguaTrip Instagram. I have some videos there on their feed. Yeah, so, but I don't have my personal Instagram. So it's not the time to advertise it. Well, guys, then I'm seeing you soon. Those of you who are attending the online intensive course on IELTS, I'm seeing you all tomorrow. And those of you who are not, those of you who are attending TOEFL intensive course in Russian, I also see you quite soon. And those of you who are not attending any courses, then I'm going to see you soon in some of the future free webinars. And we're going to discuss something else. And yeah, there is going to be also one more free webinar, but it's going to be only in Russian. And I think it's going to be this Thursday about writing 1. So if there are some people interested, you can also sign up. Bye-bye. Well, I wish you best of luck with your preparation and make sure you do practice a lot. See you all soon, guys. Bye-bye.